Hi everybody, JJ here at Newegg Studios, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this brand new gaming build that I've got here right next to me. So what makes this gaming build so special is what is powering it. It's a brand new AMD enabled X370 chipset motherboard, the Crosshair 60, as well as AMD's latest Ryzen series CPU, the 1800X. So both of these parts have been something that the community has really been anticipating, and I'm really excited to be able to put together this awesome rig and give you guys some insights at how it all came together. So let's go ahead and crack open this system and take a closer look at what makes it so special. So first and foremost, we can see that the aesthetic for this system is really unique. It's a red and black stylized aesthetic. I think it absolutely looks fantastic. And of course, this mirrors AMD's crimson color scheme, as well as the red and black color scheme that ROG is famous for. So in terms of the chassis, we have the S340 from NZXT, and then we paired it up with an awesome metallic gloss paint job from Colorware. So Colorware actually offers this customized service for a number of different chassis from NZXT. And as you can see, we've got the full color scheme, not only for the side panel, for the front, but also the backside panel and even the internal bar. And I think it absolutely looks fantastic. And just that little bit of that metallic finish just really creates a little bit more of a pop for the system all the way around. So really awesome stuff from NZXT and from Colorware. So let's go ahead and pull this panel off and take a closer look at the inside. So as we move into the build, you can first see, of course, that we've got at the heart of the system, the Crosshair 60. So this is the latest, highest performing ROG series motherboard from ASUS for the X370 based chipset. And it's got pretty much every single feature you could ask for. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about M.2, USB 3.1, onboard RGB lighting, extensive fan controls, and even special options for water cooling enthusiasts. This board's seriously got it packed, and you guys can find out more by checking out the full overview that'll be here on the Newegg YouTube channel. But going into the specifics that we've got here for the build, some really cool stuff. So right here at the top, you can see that keeping our Ryzen series CPU cool is we have the high performance Kraken X62. So this is a huge, beefy 280 millimeter closed looped water cooling solution. We've paired that up with NZXT's Air series fans to go ahead and give us a little bit of additional fill light in terms of the RGB red color scheme that we've gone ahead and defined for these guys. In terms of some additional airflow characteristics, we of course have one fan here at the top and the one for the rear. And in terms of both of these are also the Air series RGB series fans. So here we have the Hue Plus, and this of course works in conjunction with all the Air fans that we have here, including this top mounted fan, as well as the rear mounted fan, and of course the two primary fans that are on the Kraken X62. So a lot of flexibility there if you want to be able to go ahead and have asynchronous color schemes or use any number of the different types of presets that are available to you in the Cam Plus software. Now, one of the really big highlights in terms of the visual look at the system is also going to be kind of the infinite mirror design that the Kraken X62 have. I think it absolutely looks awesome for this build, and it really kind of helps to bring a center focal point to the motherboard. So this really helps to fill out the overall cooling aspects. And one of the other big benefits, of course, with such a high density radiator that we have here is that we're going to get more than enough cooling performance to be able to really crank up and take advantage of either manual overclocking or the automated overclocking that's available on this Crosshair series motherboard. Now, as we move to some of the other core components and the other connectivity, let's check out the RAM right here. So this is a really interesting series of LED-enabled DIMMs that we've got. These are from Vexer. These are their Impact Series DIMM, and they feature a really interesting alternating red LED pattern that's available to them. So they, I think, just really add kind of this really kind of thinking element to the system. It's got a really nice pop and overall kind of specialized look. On top of that, when we take a closer look at the DIMMs, they feature a special imprint finish, which also perfectly complements the look and feel of our Strix series graphics card, as well as the ROG Crosshair series motherboard. Now, moving from our DIMMs, of course, we need to be able to have a high performance GPU to be able to enable a great gaming experience. So we've got the Strix GTX 1080. This has, of course, RGB lighting, 3 different zones, one here at the top, one here on the side, and then a little bit of underfill glow that we're also going to have. And this can be fully synchronized with the lighting that's on the motherboard, as well as even the peripherals that we've got out here. So this helps to even add a little bit more extension to this red narrative that we're trying to drive throughout the rest of the system. Now, when we're talking about the rest of the LED lighting that we have here at play, we're using the Aura Sync Rgb Header Connectivity that the board offers to us. So we've got, for example, one header down here at the bottom of the board, and then there's another header here at the top of the board. So both of these can run independent RGB LED strips, or also can be connected to different chassis that have integrated RGB lighting. So moving back to the build, we can actually see that we've gone ahead and connected two RGB LED strips, specifically Cable Mod's wide beam RGB LED strips. The one down here at the bottom, which is giving us a little bit of kind of underfill and accent lighting for once we put the panel back on, is going to be connected to the bottom RGB header. And then over here, we have another one that's been recessed in the front cavity of the chassis. And that one's going to be also extended from that same RGB header. Now, we have an additional LED strip that we've also gone ahead and put in the build, which you can't directly see. And that actually is on the inside of this actual shroud. So we've gone ahead and looped it in, and it runs, because it's magnetic, it attaches to the actual shroud on the inside, and it's positioned here at the top, so it gives us a little bit of down firing, spill lighting, and that runs all the way up out towards the hard drive tray and up to the back out end of the chassis. So that just gives us a little bit more kind of internal cavity lighting, which just gives the system a really cool look and feel, especially when you look at it from different angles. And the great thing is, of course, because these are Aura certified LED strips, they work in conjunction with the synchronized lighting that's offered on the graphics card, as well as the two RGB LED lighting zones, which are on the motherboard. And the great thing is, of course, you can see right here in terms of our core components, both the Claymore and the Gladius 2 also feature RGB lighting and can also be fully synchronized. Now, at the heart of all of this and making sure that we've got a solid and reliable system, especially as we start to crank up and overclock our GPU, and especially that Ryzen series CPU, we need to be able to make sure that we've got a strong foundation in terms of the power supply. So we've got Seasonic's Prime Series PSU. So this is an absolutely beastly power supply. It's top quality in terms of its internal topology, and of course it's got a fully modular design, so it gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of all the cable routing, which is nice, especially with a chassis like this, the S340, where you've got a little bit more of a cramped internal frame for where you can run all your cabling. It's nice to be able to manage exactly which cables you want to have connected. And the included cables are already all flat black, so we're good to go there, so that pairs perfectly with the build. So in terms of the storage for our system, we've got two different storage drives. One is our primary operating system, and of course our primary drive for games and applications, and that's going to be for M.2. So this board fully supports SATA as well as PCIe NVMe based M.2 drives. So we have Kingston's high performance HyperX 240 gig PCIe SSD. So that's going to be fantastic in terms of giving us the fastest performance for core operating systems, games, and applications. And then giving us a huge, extremely fast storage drive is going to be Kingston's HyperX Savage 960 gigabyte 2.5 inch SSD that we have right here in the hard drive bay. So with those two drives, that's going to cover all our storage duties for the build. So one of the last things to consider once you put together a build like this is actually going to be airflow. So from the very beginning, you can see that we definitely tried to prioritize making sure that we get a high amount of airflow and great cooling performance for our CPU. Hence is the reason why we went ahead and we mounted the Kraken X62 in the front intake position for this system configuration. But you've got a couple of different options. You could of course go with a more basic Kraken, maybe single mounted fan that would go in the back position and then have traditional front intake airflow. Now in that type of setup, one of the things that you can do that's actually really unique with this motherboard is that we have what's called temperature input mapping. That means that you can actually have different chassis fans respond to different temperatures. In most situations, your chassis fans are going to respond only to the CPU temperature. The disadvantage of that is most of the times when you talk about general game load, the games, especially with this type of cooling solution, you're going to probably have your CPU sitting at around maybe 40 to about 60 degrees, even under the most demanding type of games. So if we actually take a look at the GPU temperature, even with a very high performance cooling solution like we've got on the Strix, we might be looking maybe about 70s, maybe the mid 70s in terms of the temperature performance. Although I'd say with a great amount of airflow here, I'd probably say that we're probably looking just about 70 degrees under full gaming load. But you're going to have the ability that if you want, you could map your actual chassis fans to respond to the GPU or the graphics card temperature. The great thing about that is that you have more targeted airflow capabilities. And you could go in, and if you wanted to have it respond to the motherboard temperature or to the VRM temperature, or even an optional temp sensor that you could place, let's say, over a hard drive or an ambient part of the chassis, that's all available to you. That, along with a lot of the options in terms of fan calibration and profiling, the ability to rename your actual fans in your temperature monitoring and your fan monitoring zones, and so much more, really gives a lot of flexibility to the Fan Expert software and hardware implementation that's offered on this Crosshair 6 and in this build that we've got here. Okay, so wrapping up our build here, we've talked about a lot of different aspects, and hopefully you guys have gained some insights in how to put together an awesome X370 and Ryzen enabled system. So in terms of price point, you know, depending on ultimately if you add every single thing up that we've put together for our system here, you're gonna be looking anywhere between about $2,500 to as much as $3,000, depending if you wanna throw in things like the custom paint job that we've got from Colorware, of course, the awesome RGB enabled accessories like the Claymore and the Gladius 2, and of course, a lot of the special additives that we've got in terms of, you know, the cable mods, RGB LED strips, or the air fans. But that's one of the great things about PCDIY is you've got a lot of flexibility. If you're looking to be able to make a cheaper system, you can easily scale down on some of these key components. If you want to be able to go to a more price aggressive board, we've got boards like the Prime X370-A, which will still offer you tons of functionality, RGB connectivity, great overclocking, great fan controls, and even improved audio, but at a lower price point. But ultimately, it really comes down to figuring out what's going to be the best Ryzen CPU for you, what's the performance that you're looking for, and what's the type of aesthetic feel that you want for your system. But that's what makes PCDIY building so great. So if you guys are looking for more information specifically on X370, Ryzen series CPUs, and more insights on the motherboards, make sure to check out that content here on the Newegg Studios YouTube channel. And with that, don't forget to subscribe.